exactly. So, man, do you want to just introduce yourself first?
Yeah. So my name's Chris. I'm a fitness coach for the last 20 years of my life. I have a physio degree, so I'm a PT by trade, but kind of transitioned out of the clinical setting, even though I'm here today, into more of a online coaching style for my practice. So I focus mainly on men 40 plus, so kind of that middle age area. And the main reason for that is that's what I am. And that's when my fitness started to kind of tank down because of kids and life and marriage and all the responsibilities that come with it as you get a little bit older. So I found that there was a big gap in my fitness, and I've been fit my whole life, and that was my whole life growing up and all of that. And when I started to kind of decline, I was like, oh geez, everybody kind of does this. This is something that needs to be addressed. And so I kind of shifted gears from doing my physio practice to more of coaching men in that age bracket to, regain their health back, get their fitness, back on track so that they can actually do stuff with their kids in 20 years instead of just, having to be cared for at that point. So that's kind of my background.
Yeah, you're lucky to have made it to 40 before your decline. I'm in my mid 20s and I feel like it's starting already.
Hey, you're back on track though, man. I saw you
I-
running a marathon the last week or
yeah,
so.
yeah. I've been pushing the body all
That's
right
that's that's legit there.
in that front. But do you find overall with the population, do you find say compared to when you were 20, 15 to 20, do you find there's a decline in population in general in the States, or is it always been the way it is?
Yeah, I mean, general health in America right now is not great anyways at pretty much in any age bracket, but I do feel like when we were younger, when I was younger, like that was part of our lives, pretty much everybody. And now I don't really see that. I think most of that has to do with technology and, kids nowadays are, they still play sports and stuff like that, but they're not going to the gym with their dads. They're, at home playing on their computers or video games or texting with their friends nonstop and those kinds of things. So I think that, there's still a place for, education in the youth to realize that the younger you start this fitness journey, the easier it's going to be to maintain when you're 40, 50 years old. The best time, and I tell my clients this all the time, the best time to start is not when you're 40. Like, you know, if you're fit when you're 20 and you continue that just gradually, by the time you hit 40, 50, 60, you are in the top 5% of most people. So there's definitely a gap between the education that goes on here as far as, our physical education is kind of a joke and it gets put on the back burner for other subjects. And, not to say that those aren't important, but I mean, if you don't got your health, what do you got?
True, true. I suppose so. You and your clients are almost doing harder work now when you're targeting, say, men in your own age bracket, say 40 plus. It's
Yeah.
harder for them, right? Do you find many people that come to you are fit already, or are they in just an almost desperation point where they're like, damn, I need to change?
Yeah, pretty much everybody is kind of at the point where, it's now or never kind of thing. And
Yeah.
most people by the time they've gotten to me have been told by multiple medical providers and stuff like, hey man, you gotta drop 50 pounds or this is gonna be bad news real quick, kind of thing. So most of them are very aware by the time they reach out that, they need to make some changes. And, to give you just kind of some stats on it, the last 5 or 6 clients that I started working with, I think one was under 300 pounds. So,
Wow.
gives you kind of a perspective on how many, people are, how bad it can get before people realize like, hey, I need to make some changes. So,
With that, it's not only the physical factor. I would say the physical factor could potentially be easier to get beyond in comparison to the mental. Even for me at 25 years old, when I'm, say, about a week ago, I climbed the highest mountain in Ireland, right? It was a mental thing. Like, yes, I was in pain, absolutely. But once I told myself, just keep going, I was good, right?
yeah.
Do you find that's a big struggle for people as well?
Yeah, I mean the mental part is huge, and honestly, the physical part's not really that difficult. Like, I lay out your exercises and workouts and things you need to do, and really it's 30 minutes out of your day. Like it's not that difficult to do. You show up and do it. the hard part for most people is the mental aspect, but also building and unbreaking bad habits. Those are the keystones to, most of my clients' success as far as, over the last 20 or 30 years, they've built these habits where, they wake up, they, go to work, they sit all day, they eat a crappy lunch, they go home, they hang out with their wife, they eat a crappy dinner, they sit and watch TV, they go to bed, they do it again. Like
Yeah.
if you keep that, that trajectory, it's very difficult to break, and it's very, very mentally hard to build new habits. I'm sure most of the people listening to this have probably read some kind of, habits book, like James Clear's Atomic Habits and those kinds of things. Like he'll go into detail about how difficult that is, and neurologically, like how difficult that is for the brain and the neurochemistry and all that stuff. But it's it's probably 90% of the battle for most people. Showing up to the gym, yeah, it's difficult, but honestly, the hardest part is literally driving to the gym. Like once you're there, you get out, you do your thing, you're good to go. And most people, they'll tell you they dramatically feel better after their workout than before their workout.
Yeah.
So you get a little positive reinforcement there, but it's definitely a mental game, man. And I tell people all the time, like, when you hire somebody like me or a coach or something like that, like that's what we do. That's how we get you to those points is we help you kind of build that mental game. The physical part is pretty much the same for everybody. Like you need to walk, you need to move, you need to eat better, etc. And yeah, there's some nuance in that, but honestly, like just having somebody to be accountable to, when you have those cravings or you have those struggles, like what are some steps you can take to kind of, keep on keeping on instead of going back into your old habits and not seeing any results again.
Yeah, I find that as well after if I'm dreading to go for a run, for example, or go to the gym, whatever it may be, afterwards, that feeling, just that satisfaction, in particular when you really don't want to do it. But when you've achieved that, it really is an accomplishment. I find the earlier in the morning I do it, either I go for a run or I go to the gym, the better my day is. Just I'm like set up to succeed. I mean, it's a difficult thing for most people to go out and do it and go there. So I think once you've done that, you're in a positive mindset throughout the day. Do you find yourself training at specific times and having a certain schedule for that, or is it random? I
Yeah,
know you're a
so
busy guy.
yeah, no, it's good. I'm actually the opposite of most people. I've tried to work out early in the morning my whole life and never been successful with it.
Really?
College, after college, even into before I had kids and stuff, like I would always work out either mid-afternoon or evening time. Like, there's some kind of science behind it as far as like circadian rhythm stuff or whatever, but I don't have any energy in the morning. I can't do it. I've tried it. Like I'll physically get sick if I do.
Wow.
So I always train in the evening, and now I mean obviously it's more difficult with families and jobs and those kinds of things and clients, but you make time for it. If it's important, you're going to find the time to do it. And I got an hour and a half carved out every evening to do my thing, and that's what works for me. For some people, they have to do it in the morning or they're not going to get it done.
Yeah.
And in that situation, that's what you got to do.
Yeah.
But yeah, the majority of people who are going to do it, just do it. You're going to feel better afterwards.
Yeah. I've went through different phases where initially I used to always go at nighttime. It used to be 9 p.m. potentially. And I'd stay there for the hour, get it done. But then I'd be hungry afterwards. So I was eating a big meal right before bed. So I completely reversed it. And I used to actually get up before work. So it might have been five. I can't even remember now. It might have been five, half five when I get up. And then 6 o'clock, I'm in the gym for an hour and then go to work. Um, I found I was definitely not as strong in the morning, without a doubt, because I would just hammer a chocolate bar and a banana, and that was it, right? I
Yeah.
think if you want for strength, say if you were going for a PR or something like that, you definitely need meals in, or
Yeah.
legs, even if you're doing legs, you need meals in uh, before it, right? I think I'm
Yeah.
correct in saying that from my own
Yeah.
experience.
True performance for sure. It's always going to be a little lacking in the morning just because your body's not really awake. you don't have the energy reserves and the carbohydrate intake and glycogen intake and all that stuff. So it's definitely, if you are going to work out in the morning like that, I always tell people, try to get 40 to 50 grams of carbohydrates 30 minutes before your workout. So you have some, reserve in there to get through the workout and kind of energize your brain a little bit, get some sugar to your brain. And it can be simple stuff. I mean, just a quick banana or whatever is usually sufficient. Even that's the one time that I tell, even all my clients, like if you're going to drink some sugary drink like a Gatorade or something like that, that's the time to do it, is 20 to 30 minutes before your workout, because the energy that you're going to, then use during that workout, all that stuff's out of your system anyways. So you're basically just using it to kind of kickstart that workout. So
Yeah.
yeah, the timing of it is important. You got to have that energy, especially if you're going to do either a really, really heavy, strength training day or a longer endurance day.
Mm.
You got to have those
I've
fuels.
yeah, another thing as well, I see a lot of people take, and it's gone into, there's like so many different flavors and everything, but pre-workout,
Yeah. I hate
right?
it.
And
I
really,
hate it. Oh yeah.
I tried it once.
It's a waste of money, man. It's a waste of money.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, essentially you're doing it for the caffeine, which, if you're going to do that, I'd tell people just drink a little cup of black coffee,
Yeah.
save
Yeah.
yourself 40, 50 bucks a month or whatever, and just
Yeah.
drink that. I mean, the other stuff that's in it, I've never been a fan of it. Like it makes my fingers tingle,
Yeah.
from the beta alanine in it and stuff like that. Like it just doesn't make me feel good. If people like it and they swear by it, go for it. But it's not doing anything performance wise for you other than the caffeine that's in it, basically. So
Mm,
yeah,
interesting.
I
Yeah,
always tell people
I
not
felt
to
like
waste your
I
money.
had no effect from it. However, I drink a lot of coffee.
Hmm.
So I'd say that's pretty much why, even though I've seen other people like shaking and everything, and some people
Yeah,
swear by it then, right? But
yeah,
yeah, it's not been something for me. I'll just stick to my mug of coffee and that's it, right?
yeah. I'm
Um,
not a big supplement guy. I mean, supplements a cajillion-dollar industry nowadays, but other than supplementing your protein to make sure you're getting adequate protein intake
yeah,
through shakes,
yeah.
I do suggest creatine for some
Mm.
people, especially performance-based people, and caffeine, before workout. Other than those three things, I don't
There,
suggest anything.
yeah, there are a lot of benefits true with creatine. Um, I think in particular for women as well, which is interesting. I think creatine will become more of a common use thing.
Yeah,
When I was younger, like it was like you be careful using it, right? But it's
yeah. It's been well studied now. I
yeah,
mean, it's still going on 25 years of it now. So, I mean, if there was going to be any crazy effects, we would have
yeah,
noticed it by now. But yeah, I mean, great, not only for physical stuff, but there's a lot of studies that show mental capacity is
yeah.
increased with creatine as well. So, you get that extra boost of being able to work out a little bit longer, which is good. You get a little bit of recovery with it as well. And then you add in some mental clarity with it too. It's one of the most effective supplements out there, and one of the safest. I mean, it's
Yeah.
been studied for so long now and scrutinized for so long that, if, like I said, if there was anything bad that was going to come from it, we would have had it by now. So
Do you take da daily vitamins,
I don't
multivitamins?
know.
No, really?
I used to take a multivitamin for forever, but again, felt like I was basically just, kind of peeing out the dollar bills as I went to the bathroom every day. So,
Fair.
if you're eating a decently healthy, diet and you're eating some fruits and veggies throughout the day and you're getting some adequate, protein
Yeah.
intake, then you're getting most of the stuff that you need. I think it's overkill to just keep pounding vitamins just to say that you're pounding vitamins.
Mm.
A lot of those are water soluble. And so once you get to a certain point, your body's just excreting it out. You're just peeing it out. So you're just paying for expensive urine essentially at that point.
True, true. Um,
So
with your meals, do you find this is a phase I've seen big on Twitter and I mean YouTube in general, is fasting. I want a professional's opinion on it. And I mean, it is an opinion realistically, I think, because there's so many professionals will tell you different things. I personally would not even try it. I would feel weak if I didn't eat for a few hours. What's your thought?
yeah, so a big topic there.
Yeah.
Fasting, for most people, that means not eating, still drinking water for it could be one day, it could be 7 days, There's also something called intermittent fasting,
Mm,
which is kind of incorrect. It should be, I like to use the time restricted feeding with that
mm,
because you're just narrowing the window of when you're eating essentially. But I actually used to think that fasting had some good health benefits to it. But there's been a lot of research come out in the last 5 years or so that's changed my mind on that. So I no longer suggest fasting to any of my clients. I don't do it personally. I
mm,
never felt good when I did it. The longest I did it was 3 days and I felt
mm,
like crap. So I don't recommend it to anybody. I don't think there's that many health benefits from it from all the research that I've come across, which is a good amount. And listening to other people that know even more about it than I do. I don't think it's going to be something that's done, a long-term
long
thing.
term, yeah.
The one thing I do recommend a lot of my patients, because they are bigger when they come to me, 300 plus pounds, whatever, a lot of them do have like type 2 diabetes.
Mm,
So what can be effective for reversing that, which is completely reversible through diet and exercise, by the way, is intermittent fasting. So narrowing the window. So now instead of eating your meals throughout, 24-hour span, you're narrowing it down. So from, noon to 6 p.m. is when you eat your food. From 6 p.m. until the next day, the next, lunch period or whatever, you're not having anything except water. That can be very effective because those people are already saturated with sugar in their bloodstream. That's why their blood sugars are so high. So they need to get rid of that stuff as much as possible. So that's a good way to do that. For the average person who doesn't have that condition and is looking at building performance or, just losing weight, for me, fasting is just not the answer.
mm. And I feel like I know a couple of people in real life, we'll call it offline, that swear by it. And they're not coaches, they're not professionals, they're just regular dudes that constantly seem to do it. And I've genuinely noticed, I can very openly say it, is that they've just gone almost sick looking because they've just lost so much weight. They're doing it so much, so often. Their their ideas are that there's long-term health benefits. Like maybe it'll help for not getting certain diseases, things like that. However, I, me personally, I'd rather be fit and healthy right now and not worry as much about a one in a million disease in the long run.
Yeah. Yeah, and the science just isn't there for that
Yeah.
claim, that the bad thing about it is, like you said, they start to look sick. Well, that's because they're losing so much muscle mass.
Yeah.
When you're not eating, your body essentially runs out of fuel for your brain to work and for your nervous system to work and all this stuff. So it starts pulling out, amino acids from your muscles. So basically, it just emaciates you. Your protein starts to go away. It's sucking all the muscle tissue away from you and using that for fuel. And you don't want to be using muscle tissue for fuel. It's
Mhm.
very ineffective. It takes a lot more energy to actually do it. And then you obviously, you can see how they look. And it's not a healthy way to go. And from everything that I've done, study wise and research wise and all that, there's no long-term beneficial effects of fasting. It's not going to, you know, make you less susceptible to cancers and all these different things that people thought, 10, 15 years ago that it might. It's just not there.
Yeah. Yeah. I think people need to be very careful where they get their information and knowledge from as well. Right. I think they
Yeah.
actually need someone. And look, this isn't saying anything against certain people, but there's a lot of young dudes like 18, 19 thinking they know everything. They've done a small bit of, or maybe they've got great size in themselves and now they're training someone or they're training 100 people at once, like some of
Yeah.
these influencers. Whereas there's someone like you then who's literally been in it professionally for 20 years and have gone through the different phases and almost cycles in life as well throughout your experience to really have the true genuine experience. So
Yeah.
I've lot like my girlfriend and her family are bodybuilders, right? So I've seen a lot of people get put on extremely bad diets for show prep to the point they're uh, breaking down. The mental goes completely, however hard it is already. It gets even harder with certain diets I've seen people on, collapsing on stage, different things like that. It's not right, you know. And that's a big negative I've seen in the industry, I suppose since I've been around it more. Um, and it's a shame. Whereas they could go to someone like you who just has genuine life experience and you can get more knowledgeable information in a
Yeah.
healthy way, right?
Yeah. Definitely the show preppers and stuff. I mean, they it's very tough to do what they do. To
Yeah.
maintain 4 to 5% body fat on your body is probably the most difficult thing that you can do. And people that think that they can get there, trust me, you can't get there. Like you will be so miserable by the time that you get there that you will not want to do that anymore. And the people that do that are a different breed, and that's why they're in the top 0.001%, you know. Is it healthy? No, it's not healthy. They're doing it because, you know, they love it. That's their thing. They're doing it for performance factors. They're not doing it for long-term health, you know. Whereas my coaching philosophy is always about, you know, what do we want to do 20 years from now? You know, do you want to be, you know, in the nursing home with your kids taking care of you, or do you want to be out running around with them and enjoying family activities and those kinds of things? I'm not training bodybuilders. I'm not trying to get you, you know, looking like Ronnie Coleman or anything like that. That is not my thing. I'm sure people do, you know, train some trainers out there probably do that type of thing, but that's not my market and that's not who I work with and stuff. But general health and longevity,
Yeah.
you know, that's definitely not the route to take. There's very healthy bodybuilders, obviously. But yeah, when taken to the extreme in one way or the other, it's never turns out great for them.
Yeah, exactly. What about carbs? This is something I saw spoken about. I think it was Joe Rogan and Elon Musk. They spoke about carbs and they said, you know, it can break too much can make your brain kind of a little foggy and things like this. I have very little opinion on it. I think I probably have too many carbs on my in my daily diet, right? But I love it. So
Me too, man. Me too.
like, do you find negatives to it, or
There's
have you any
there's not
thoughts
really
on it?
negative to it. I mean, everyone's going to be a little bit different. Each individual person's going to have, you know, different, you know, they're going to feel different when they do different diets and increase carbohydrates versus protein and fats and those kinds of things. So, um, you know, as long as it's moderated, you know, I see no reason to eliminate carbs. I'm definitely not an anti-carb guy. Like, I'm not making my clients, carnivore diets and these kinds
Yeah,
of things that are, you know, obviously not realistic long term and not great for your health in general. And the other thing is like most people do enjoy carbs. You know,
yeah,
it's most of those foods are very satisfying and it comes with their heritage. A lot of heritages that are built around those types of foods. And a lot of people don't want to eliminate those, you know, because it takes them out of social settings with their families and those kinds of things. And so the most unrealistic thing you can do is for somebody to come to you and say, "Hey, I'm an Italian guy, and you know we get together 3 times a month to have these little dinner parties and stuff." You know, who am I to say, "Oh yeah, you can't have any spaghetti, lasagna, pizza." Like, no, you're done. Like, that's not coaching, man. That's just
yeah,
ridiculous. You know, you need to, if you're trying to lose and you know carbs are the enemy, yeah, you're gonna have to reduce them a little bit. That does not mean eliminate them by any stretch of the imagination. Um, but everything has to be balanced. You know, the number one thing for most people is to get as much protein as you can, you know, in their daily diet. And when you switch to a slightly higher protein intake diet, your need and want for carbohydrates are also going to start to decrease. So you won't crave them as much either, because the protein's making you fuller, longer. Um, and plus, by then you'll be working out, you'll be burning some carbohydrates, so you can actually eat more carbohydrates and get away with it. So carbs are definitely not an enemy by any stretch of the imagination. You know, all my clients eat fruit, they eat carbohydrates. You know, and it's a sustainability thing. You
mm,
know, sure, we could eliminate those for 3 months and yeah, everyone's going to drop 30, 40 pounds. But what happens when they go back to eating the way that they want to eat and stuff? They're just going to regain everything back. And that's why most fad diets suck because, you know, they're unrealistic. So if you can start by already incorporating the foods that they enjoy and the carbohydrates, but also getting results while you're doing it. Now they don't have to change in 3 months or 4 months down the road. They can keep eating the same stuff. And now they've already lost 30, 40 pounds, in a sustainable fashion.
Something I have struggled with is sticking to the exact same diet, right? Now, by that, it could be, I'll keep it simple, but let's say it's spag bol, uh, chicken and pasta, that's 2 meals. Let's say there's porridge and medallions and eggs and toast, something like that. That's a general day for me, right? Now, I might want steak tomorrow with chips and some pepper sauce, which I just had a while ago. Do you find that your clients and even yourself need to stick to a specific diet, or is it okay to be a little bit flexible with it? And also, I suppose the second part in a way, but how do you feel about cheat meals once a week?
Yeah. So, um, overall, the cheat meals in general, I mean, they're going to happen. They're totally fine. They need to be built into most people's programs because they're going to happen. And you can't feel bad about them when you're the person that does it, whatever, you just move on, etc. Um, the first part of the question, sorry, I forgot already what you said, but
Yeah, like
was
changing
yeah,
up the
yeah, yeah,
food
yeah,
kind
yeah,
of,
variety
yeah.
and stuff. Yeah. So it's going to be individualized, kind of like workout times. Some people love the morning, some people love the evening. I have some clients, man, that they'll eat 4 meals a day, the same thing for months on end. Like eggs and toast, steak and chicken, whatever. That's all they eat and they don't care. They like it. And for some people, it's easier because they don't have to think on a daily basis. Like, oh God, I got to meal prep. Oh God, I got to cook this meal. Oh God, I got to go find this to eat. Like, they already know what they're going to eat for like the next month. They just buy it and it's there and it's good to go. So if they can do that, good on them. And if it doesn't, bother them or they're not, perturbed in any way by not stretching out and eating a variety of food, I'm totally for it.
Yeah.
Most people, though, they do want some variety, and there's nothing wrong with that. I encourage it. It's one of those things that I think, especially like social settings and stuff,
Mm.
like it's going to come up. The last person you want to see is like, you go out with your friends and like you're the guy that brings like a chicken salad with you and you're like
Yeah.
eating on the side out of the Tupperware bowl and stuff, and everybody else is eating steak or whatever. So, it's got to be built in there. And it goes back to the moderation factor. Like if you've been really solid for, 5, 6 days in a row, a little extra steak and baked potato
Yeah.
here is not gonna undo any changes that you're gonna see. And in fact, it'll keep you happier and allow you to kind of stick with the program even longer. So
Yeah, because again, I'm no bodybuilder by any means, that's for sure. But my girlfriend very strict, really, really strict. It's Saturday, that's when the meal is, that's it. And then Monday to Friday, a little bit flexible on a Sunday, but Monday to Friday, it's the same. Everything's weighed, everything's the same. And it's impressive to say the least.
it
However,
is. It
if you
is.
her father, it's like buckets of chicken and rice blended
Oof.
down the hatch. That's it. I don't know how many times a day. Too many for the normal person. No, he's in a phenomenal shape, no question about it. Um, but to be able to do that and to even get one of those shakes down is insane, right?
That's a
Um,
mindset right there, man. He's got
yeah,
he's got his he's got his goal set. He knows what he's doing.
yeah.
So it's
It's
yeah, not for
truly
everybody, that's for sure.
no, it's truly a different level. So that's why I think I've personally struggled a lot, and I feel like I have to enjoy it and enjoy the physical and the food side of it as well. Even with certain gyms, I don't enjoy certain environments as much. I need to go somewhere else, things like that. And I think there could be a lot of pressure for people. In particular, I think if you have just self-conscious of, oh, maybe I'm too skinny or maybe I'm too overweight, I think it's difficult to get to a gym. Really, really difficult.
It is, yeah, it is. But I'll tell you this, like, and that is a common complaint, or not a complaint, but a common fear of a lot of, my clients and stuff is like, oh geez, when we start introducing strength training, and obviously, most of them have to get to a gym or at least at home doing some strength training stuff, they are fearful of that. But I've been in gyms since I was, 12 years old, and 99% of the people that I know at gyms are super, super caring and helpful and want you to succeed when you go in there.
Mm.
If you walk in there and you're 350 pounds, like you think that everybody's staring at you.
Yeah.
But actually what they're doing is they're super happy that you're there, you know. Yeah, there may be some jackass or whatever that, there's always one person that's like, oh yeah, just this person, whatever. But I swear to you, most of those people in there want you to succeed. If you went up to any of them and asked them a question about carbs or something, they're gonna be so happy to give you a straight answer, and they'll encourage you. And if you have any, you know, um, if you're scared to use a certain machine, you don't know what to do, and you ask somebody, they'll be more than happy to work with you and just kind of show you the ropes. And that's a solid gym community in most places, that I've ever been a part of. That's the case. Um, I'm sure there are some places that aren't as great, but I think it's way overblown what beginners think that people are thinking about them when they start in
Mm.
there. And I've had people not even want to start working with me because
Mm.
they are so scared to go to the gym, you know.
Yeah.
And I'll tell them that, and for whatever reason, like they don't think that's the case. But yeah, for all of my life, I've been in gyms and I've seen those people, and at one point I was the beginner, and
Mm.
so you see the guys in there every day doing their thing, and you reach out to them, and all of them were super, super helpful. So I encourage anybody that's on the fence about like starting at a gym or doing anything like that to just go and realize that the people that are looking at you in there are proud of you and want you to succeed more than they're judging you about anything. Most people don't care. They're wrapped up in their own stuff anyways. They're not even remotely looking in that direction. So
Yeah. That's the thing, right? Everyone that's in a gym is in there for themselves. They're not in there to generally judge other people or to just stare at other people. You're literally in a gym to benefit yourself.
yeah, the
That's
only
it,
people that judge people are online people. So
right?
all the people at the
Exactly.
gym, they could give a shit less.
Exactly. And to be honest, I love seeing people like I to me, running is has something I've really kind of fallen in love with. And I love seeing people that are not in peak running condition doing their best. I don't care how slow you are. I do not care. I don't care if you look like you need to start walking. I love seeing you trying, because I feel like I was that same person at the start as well. Right.
Yeah, exactly.
Struggling like this,
Yeah.
right? Gasping.
And
And
they're working, and how hard they're working because you were there.
and their potential is just as much as you.
Yep.
So I think, and you'll see that over the long period of time, people can pass you out if you're not focusing on yourself,
I
right?
have clients that lift more than I do nowadays.
Good,
So
good,
started
good.
from not being able to walk to outlifting me. So, that's
It's insane,
that's
right?
what we're here for.
How does that make you feel about getting results for your clients and
Oh
seeing them
man,
change?
oh dude, it's insane. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's so crazy. And not even just like the physical part of it, but just like the mental component and like how their focus in life shifts from never ever wanting to lift a finger to go work out to like if they miss a workout, they're freaking out, like texting me about it, like, oh my God, I missed the gym today. I'm just like, chill out. It's just one day. Like, so that shift is pretty crazy. Um, and even the medical side of it, like, reversing people's type 2 diabetes just through diet and exercise and stuff, without them having to take medications or injecting themselves with insulin all day and stuff like that, man, it's surreal. And the time frames in which they do it too. I mean, um, I have a guy right now who started with me early September. So it's been about 10 weeks. Um, he's down 54 pounds.
Wow.
He started at 310. He's like at 248 right now.
Wow.
And I was actually messaging him last night, and we were talking about it. I was like, dude, when you signed up in September, what did you think you were going to be at like at this point? Like, did you think you'd be here? He's like, dude, my goal is to like lose 10 pounds.
Wow.
I'm like, you're at 54 pounds right now, man. Like, it's so crazy. So it's
Uh,
mind-boggling what the body can do in a short amount of time if you just,
yeah.
dedicate yourself to it. And And it doesn't even have to be hard work. Like I said, most of these people are spending 30 minutes a day doing stuff. So it's
Yeah.
not like it's they're spending 4 hours in the gym or anything. So it's pretty crazy.
It's just it's amazing how I can see how happy that makes you as well with the results, which is cool. It shows you really care. Like, but I think having that support is very important. And to people that don't have a lot of time as well, you can train at home. Like, there's no doubt about it. I actually I see deliveries. We've got new neighbors, and I see deliveries of gym equipment getting delivered every week at the moment. I'm like, good,
It might
nice.
be
And
one of
I
my clients.
yeah, right. So
And
yeah, go ahead.
yeah, and even starting out, like, some of these people that are, 350, 400 pounds or so, like, you don't even need equipment.
Right.
You don't even need to be doing anything besides changing your nutrition, nailing that down, and walking. Like, that's it,
Yeah.
and it can be as simple as that. You do that for 2 months, you're a new person.
Yeah.
Then once you're able to, have a little bit more mobility and those kinds of things, and your joints don't hurt as bad, yeah, now you start introducing some home training and some body weight exercises and bands and stuff like that. And you just take off from there. You got to build that base initially. But yeah, it literally you could do it for free. I mean,
Yeah.
you change your diet and you got a place to walk, you're set.
Yeah. Yeah. So you kind of answered the question there, but you think diet is number one?
For the clientele that I work with, yeah, I mean, when you're 350 pounds
Yeah.
and such, yeah, diet's going to be the number one thing. Diet and habit change, those two things are the keystones to it. Um, Overall, in my opinion, exercise is a more potent um, longevity drug.
Mm,
So if you want to be, at a higher level when you're 60, 70 years old, exercise is much more potent than your
mm,
nutrition is going to be. So it's one of those things where, yeah, for my clientele and losing weight and those kinds of things, like nutrition is going to be a little bit bigger of a deal in the beginning phases, especially.
mm,
But once you hit a certain point, that kind of switches, and exercise becomes a much more potent drug to be able to live longer and live
mm.
better as you age.
That's interesting. So it's kind of like it's two-step or a two-stage phase, whatever you want to say, thing. Um, get the diet tidied up, and I suppose it's build that habit of not going get the extra snacks every hour and things like that.
Yep.
I find that so easy to do as well, by the way. Like this custard creams in the drawer at the moment, I'm like, oh,
Oh
right.
yeah. Yeah,
It's very easy
exactly.
to grab a few and you'd be surprised with these things. Like even something as simple as a biscuit, it could be 90 calories, few of
Oh
them,
yeah.
and you've another meal in.
Yep. And
It's,
who's going to eat one? I'm going
you
to eat
know,
10 or 11 when I eat.
right?
So, you
Right.
know,
So th these things, and it's really once you become aware. Like even my mother there, she was eating a jar of pesto, red pesto on the pasta,
mhm.
full, a small jar, but full jar. And the amount of fats in it when I looked, and the amount of just calories, it was an extra meal on the pasta and chicken.
Yep.
Couldn't get over it.
Yep.
And a lot of people don't realize this. Also, in America, there's compared to Europe, the food is very bad from what I've seen.
Poor
Our
quality. Yeah.
yes, our I'm not even sure the wording, but what's passed and what's allowed in Europe is far less. I think it's like a quarter of what's allowed in America. It's like it's thrown out and then maybe it's tested after, and if it's really bad, then it'll get pulled.
Yeah.
Like I want to get over there and actually even experience that.
Yeah. It's
Um,
crazy, man. There's a
so
lot of stuff from what
yeah,
I hear. I haven't been to Europe, so I can't speak to it. But from what I hear, there's a lot of stuff here that is banned in Europe and
yeah,
they don't even allow on shelves and stuff,
yeah,
which blows my mind. So, but,
yeah,
typical Americans, and it's,
right, yeah,
we're run by, food companies and big
yeah,
pharmas and stuff like that. So
yeah.
it's sad, but it's true.
Yeah, but even if you go further east again, I was in Thailand last year for a month, and I think it's the perfect place to get healthy. It's really hot, so you're like sweating all the time, which is a good thing in a way. Um, the food, it's cheap and it's clean, like
Mhm.
really clean. You're eating primarily rice and chicken.
Yeah.
and it's good. It
It's
like it has
delicious.
the
Yeah.
seasoning and it's fresh. It really is different to what you'd get at home. Um, and I was eating almost everything possible over there. I think I dropped a kg in the month over there.
Yep. I've heard
It,
that.
you know, and I'm sure there's even more extreme cases. So
Yeah, it's
it's
just
just
so
it's
much easy access here too. I mean,
yeah,
I got a grocery store next door. You walk down any of those aisles and it's just like you can't believe how many things are on there. I
yeah.
went to, so I've got addicted to I don't know if you've heard of the Ninja, the creamy. So
No, no.
you make like basically like super high protein, like ice cream, essentially.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
I use it for snacking and stuff like that. So there's this one recipe that called for, those thin Oreos.
Yeah.
So you throw like two or three in there with your protein ice cream.
Yeah.
And there was there was like 30 different flavors of Oreos. I had no idea. I kid you not. There was like Snickers Oreos and
Wow.
toffee Oreos and triple stuff Oreos that were this thick and like peanut butter Oreos. I was blown away, man. I couldn't believe it. I was like, oh my God. So just that easy. I
Yeah.
mean, you could go there and get anything and they're very um, they put chemicals in them to
Yeah.
make you want more, and they're delicious. That's the problem.
Yeah. There's a chemical, I can't remember what it's called. It's three letters. Can't for the life of me though. And it's supposed to be like addicting that people are putting in, or these companies are putting in the food. It's primarily, I think, in takeaways, certain things like burgers, chips. I wish I could remember the name, but it's literally supposed to be addicting to get you to come back. It's like when you crave something, crave a food, that's the thing that you're
Yeah.
actually craving.
It's literally like affecting your brain.
Yeah, yeah,
And until you get it again, it's like being addicted to cocaine.
yeah,
It's like until you get your next hit of the peanut butter Oreo, like you can't make it through life another second.
yeah,
But I mean, these food companies, I mean, they spend millions and probably billions of dollars making it that way so that you keep coming back.
yeah, yeah.
And we wonder why 75% of America is obese, literally obese.
Yeah,
Three out
it's
of four.
insane. That's
Crazy.
insane to think about. What there's this as well. What's classed as obese? Is that just is it body percentage fat? What is
Yeah, they go off this thing called BMI, body
yeah,
mass index. It's basically a rough estimate of height versus weight, takes your sex into account. Yeah, it's not the best tool in the world, but for most people that are classified as obese, they're obese. You
yeah,
know, the only way it gets into some shady areas is like really muscular people,
mm,
because your weight is going to be a little bit higher because you have so much muscle mass. And so it classifies you as overweight or obese, even though you're, kind of a jack dude. So, but other than that, those are the outliers. But yeah, I mean, I see it every day with my eyes.
it's true.
It's
That's the
it's
biggest
true, man.
giveaway, right?
It's
Yeah,
true. Yeah,
it's
it's sad to see, but
the old-fashioned way of just looking,
yeah,
right?
exactly. Just go
Um,
around the park and look, and you'll see it.
yeah, yeah, and if you're jacked, you know you're jacked, right? So, yeah, because I did the BMI thing before, and it said I was slightly overweight, and I was a little bit offended. I was like, damn,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah,
So
exactly.
it is what it is. I think once you know yourself, I think you need to be able to and look. Some people have difficulty with this, but looking in the mirror and really judging yourself, and that now there's different levels to that, and some people will have extremes where they really do not see what the reality is, right? That's
Hmm.
a
Hmm.
different topic again. Um, but I'd like people around me to tell me if I'm getting heavier, right?
Yeah,
I
and I
don't know if
think
people do that enough.
yeah, and I think too, bouncing off that is we've become so afraid of offending people nowadays too
Yeah,
that even when your own family members are at risk for all these diseases and heart
yeah,
disease and diabetes and all this from being overweight, and we just let it go and we don't
yeah,
say anything. And to me that's a disservice. Like you said, if I was like that, I would want people to be like, dude, we got to fix this.
yeah,
You can do it in a loving way, you can do it in a non-confrontational way. I mean, those are the people that care about you. They want you to be healthy. They want you to be around. They love you enough to bring it up. That's
yeah,
what I always say is like, if you don't love somebody enough to tell them like you need to lose 30 pounds or like this is gonna get bad fast for all of us.
Yeah.
Like I don't even think you love that person if you don't bring it up. So we're just so afraid to say anything nowadays. And you know, some people just need to hear it. Some people haven't heard it. Like you can't be 350 pounds and think it's okay. And for you to have never heard that, dude, your life is probably going to end 30 years younger than it should. Like,
Yeah.
if you haven't heard that, you need to hear that.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that is a beautiful way to end this. Um, Chris, it's been a pleasure. For anyone that wants to find you, where can they? I'll have your socials tagged on all this. So maybe just check below or check on top of the post.
Yeah, I
But
think probably Twitter's the best place. Even though I'm not super active on social media, I do check it pretty much every other day or so. So, yeah, Midlife Fitness is the name of my country company. So, that's my handle is Midlife Fitness. I'm sure you'll tag it in the stuff below. So, yeah, feel free to reach out with any questions you have about training, fitness, any of that stuff. I'm more than happy to answer, questions that you might have. Anything that you need help with, I always give out advice and free stuff out there. So more than happy to help anybody that needs it, or if they need some direction on which way to go, more than happy to do that as well.
yeah. No, I have to say you're a good, genuine, helpful guy. So definitely anyone that's interested or anyone that feels like they even just have simple questions, hit up Chris. He'll be happy to help. So thank you for coming on, man. We'll
I
talk soon.
appreciate it, man. It was a blast. We'll do it again soon.
Absolutely.